It all kind of came to a head one day when they were just sitting around playing video games, and I was just over it. I had a lot going on, and I said, you know what? We are going to start doing life skills camp. And they were like, "What is that?" I'm like, "You didn't wanna go to any camps this summer, so we're having life skills camp here at home, and you are going to learn how to do different life skills that will serve you in the future."
Welcome to the Wellness That Fits podcast, where we help busy moms eat well, restore energy, and clear brain fog without sacrificing family time or your sanity. I'm Cassie Greschel, registered dietitian and mom of three. I believe wellness should fit your real life, not the other way around. If you're tired of complicated wellness trends and want simple, sustainable strategies for meal prep, holistic nutrition, and time-saving routines, you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Welcome to another episode of Wellness That Fits. And today I have my friend Melissa Wilkinson here with me, and I'm so excited to have her. We met a while back through some Facebook groups and also in an email list building group that we've connected through, and we've been working together for a half a year now since, and I love collaborating with her. So I'm excited to have you here today, Melissa.
Cassie, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited that Wellness That Fits is now a podcast. This is awesome.
Yes, absolutely. So let me go ahead actually and run through a little bit about who you are, and then you can add in anything as you see fit. So Melissa Wilkinson is the founder of Anchored with Purpose, a faith-centered brand and podcast designed to help Catholic women reconnect with their faith, inner peace, and pursue their God-given dreams. She's also the author of the Anchored with Purpose Faith Journal, which helps women start their day with purpose and intention. As a wife, mother, speaker, podcaster, author, and certified life coach, Melissa brings a compassionate, relatable approach to empowering women to overcome life's chaos, find their purpose, and live with intention. Through her podcast, speaking engagements, and coaching, she inspires women to deepen their relationship with God, nurture their families, and boldly dream again. When she's not coaching or podcasting, Melissa loves spending time with her family, sharing heartfelt encouragement, and finding creative ways to anchor her own life with faith and purpose. So again, Melissa, so excited that you are here. And I would just love to know a little bit about what inspired you to start Anchored with Purpose.
That's a great question, Cassie. So, back in about 2018, I started just feeling this tug from the Lord to share some of these life experiences that I had. So, over the several years leading up to that, I had just had some different life experiences that led me closer into a walk with Christ. And I had deepened my faith, and I had found myself again after, just tiny little background. Before I became a mom, I was a six-figure leader running a $30 million store with 200 employees. And I was the breadwinner. And then I became a stay-at-home mom. So going from feeling like I was super successful in the corporate world to staying home, a little bit of a piece of me was missing, and I had kind of lost that in myself. But through entrepreneurship, through direct sales, I had found that spark, that fire again. And not only that, I was starting to achieve some of my own dreams and helping my team achieve some of their dreams too. And I really just loved helping them. I loved inspiring them. I loved trainings and meetings where I could lift them up and just watch things shift in their minds. And I started feeling this tug where, okay, Melissa, you have to share this. Like, you have to share beyond your team. You have to help other women achieve their dreams. You have to help other women on this walk with the Lord and bring them closer. Because so many of us, we may have been born and raised in households where, we went to church on Sundays and maybe we fell away from it. I know that I had fallen, like it was hard getting to church on Sundays with two little kids. So I just felt this calling to do it. And it started just with a blog. And I started doing some workshops for not just my own team, but other teams that I knew in the direct sales world. And I absolutely loved that. I loved hearing the stories from women about, kind of their results that they achieved from that and how they felt inspired. And that just filled my cup. So that's kind of how it got started. Now, it changed and altered a bit over the years too. So I left my role in direct sales in 2019 to jump in further with Anchored with Purpose. It was God led me there along a very windy path, but we never know how that's going to go. And I published the Faith Journal that year. And then in 2020, I was shocked, but God, shocked a lot of people in 2020. And he kind of turned that path a little bit where he asked me to lay it down to go work in my home parish. And I worked and I was just obedient to him. And it was very hard to put it down, but I did and worked there for a few years until he said, okay, it's time. And I left that role, took on a new role in a Catholic nonprofit that helped me because I knew I wanted to do a few things, Cassie. I knew I wanted to podcast. I knew I wanted to speak on stages. And I knew that my life's purpose is to make a global impact on the Catholic Church. And that allowed me to do all of those. And now I get to do that with Anchored with Purpose as well. So it's been kind of a long and windy road with surprise twists and turns, but it's been a fun journey.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And I just have to go back to the point when you were talking about the transformation going from hitting financial goals and working more corporate and then having to trust God through the transformation of entrepreneurship and motherhood and everything that comes along with it. So, would you mind just maybe sharing a little bit more about what specifically helped you during that transition? And I'm sure, we're all still transitioning and everything, but maybe just like a little tip for all the busy moms out there who are juggling everything, wanting to trust in God, but just really unsure kind of what the next step might be and putting their trust in God. Can you just shed a little light on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can share it in two ways. So first, when I was leaving my corporate job to stay home, I can tell you that there were so many tears as I kind of worked through what am I supposed to do? And finally, there was one night, like I had been working an overnight, Cassie. Like this was the reality of my work in that role. I had worked an overnight. I didn't get home until early in the morning after Jeff had already left for work. And we were meeting for dinner at his parents' house. And I remember like he and I were out on their deck and I was just crying. I was like, I I I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do at this point. I'm exhausted. Like, I know, like, I know I should leave, but I'm scared. Like, what? And he said, it's going to be okay. He's like, just trust. And in that moment, I surrendered it all to God. And Cassie, I felt the most relief. Like, how scary is it to go from I'm the breadwinner, I'm the one paying the mortgage and most of the bills, and going like not knowing how we're going to make ends meet, but just surrendering all of that to God, I felt so much peace. And he took care of us every single step of the way. He put everything in our path along that windy road that I never would have expected to help us. And then when it came time for me to transition into entrepreneurship, he did it in such a beautiful way that again it was that trust and that surrendering. So when it came to me starting with the direct sales company I was with, it was a faith-based company, which was great. It was called 31 Gifts. I wish it were still around, but it's not, but it was incredible. Anyway, the beautiful part of that was I could work that business from home while at that point, Andrew, my oldest, was just a baby. Like I worked it during nap time. I had committed that I was only going to leave the house like one day a month for parties and that kind of thing. And then as that built up and grew and I started to see some substantial income with it, that was just wow. It was just a shining example of what happens when we do trust in God. But Cassie, when it was time to let all of that go, that was really hard. Like it had gotten to a point where my husband had to have a real, like actual come to Jesus conversation with me. And he had said, your business is flourishing. You're doing amazing. That was the year I was hitting $100,000 in sales. But he said, you're not present the way you said you wanted to be present. The whole reason you left that corporate job was you wanted to be home nights and weekends, and you're not. You're working and you're bringing in a lot of money, and that's great and that's wonderful, but you missed half of the boys' Little League games this season. And oh, that hit me hard. It really did. And I realized that I had gone back into my old ways and was just working entirely too much. So when it came time to surrender all of that, that took a lot again, crying, prayers, surrendering. But I had a really great conversation with, so I had shared with you that it's a faith-based company. The CEO of the company and her husband took Jeff and I out to dinner one night when we were on my last leadership incentive trip with them. We were in Maui, and we were walking back to the resort from dinner. And he asked me, Melissa, what scares you the most about leaving and starting your own business? And I said, Scott, how do I leave all of this? We are on this beautiful tropical island right now. I'm here for free. Like, leaving all of this, leaving this sisterhood. And I know how to sell bags. I'm really good at that. But I really don't know what I'm doing. And he said something to me that I'll never forget. He said, Melissa, Jesus didn't tell Peter what to do after he told him to get out of the boat and come to him. He just said, get out of the boat. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. I just need to get out of the boat. I just need to do it. And it was just incredible because within weeks, then I was in the process of publishing the Faith Journal. So it truly has been just a walk of trust all along.
Yeah, and I think you and I have very similar stories in the whole burning out, doing too many things, being this chronic overachiever. And I think a lot of women struggle with that. And so it's like when you make that transition to maybe slowing down or keeping the same pace, but in a different way, maybe leaning in more towards with your family, I think there's like a little bit of an identity shift that we've discussed before that is hard to it is hard to have that shift
Yes.
happening in your life, and it absolutely requires prayer. It absolutely requires immersing ourselves in scripture and understanding what our purpose is on the earth. And there's a lot of directions we can take our lives. And is one right or wrong? I don't think it necessarily works like that. So I think as long as we are bringing God into our lives and our hearts and our souls daily, and we're asking Him to guide our steps. And for me, the biggest thing is like taking the desires off of my heart and putting God's desires on my heart. I ask for that daily. So thank you for sharing that. I think it resonates with so many Christian women around. So the next thing I actually want to talk about, because you had talked about motherhood and kind of that transition. And recently you and I have been talking a lot. Like I said before, we've been working with one another, me with nutrition and then you with life coaching. And so you have this great idea of this life skills camp that you do with your kids. Can you tell the listeners a little bit more about this camp and how that idea came about?
Yes, absolutely. So, this is one of those things, Cassie, where it's kind of funny how it came out. It was, I shared that I work for this Catholic nonprofit. I get to work from home, which is incredible. It's super flexible. And one of the things is, it was over the summer. I was here in my office, like working like crazy. I had like multiple meetings one day, and I was just like cranking stuff out. And in between meetings, like I have to pass through the laundry room to get to the bathroom. So I just like switch laundry on my way and, do that kind of stuff. And I look out and there's my kids just sitting on the couch playing video games. And I'm like, wait. Like why am I doing your laundry and you're just sitting here doing nothing? And I'm trying to balance all of this within my workday, and then try and get everything done early enough to get them outside for, some of the afternoon. So it all kind of came to a head one day when they were just sitting around playing video games and I was just over it. I had a lot going on and I said, you know what? We are going to start doing life skills camp. And they were like, what is that? I'm like, you didn't want to go to any camps this summer. So we're having life skills camp here at home. And you are going to learn how to do different life skills that will serve you in the future. So first thing we're going to do is laundry. Now, Cassie, my kids have been putting away their own laundry for years. I am very particular with the way I fold laundry, and I had to surrender that, and that was really hard. Like, I folded all the Marie Kondo way where it all stands up inside the drawers, and now the only person who has their drawer set up that way is me, and that's okay. I have to let theirs go. But so I taught them, okay, first you have to bring your own laundry down from upstairs. And here is how you know how much a full load is. They've got these tall hampers. Half of a hamper is a full load. And I taught them how to put the detergent in, and I taught them how to set a timer so they would know when it's time to switch the laundry. And then I taught them how to fold it. And it was fun because, and I say fun, but it was like just a little time for me to spend with each of them individually then while they were folding the laundry I was teaching them. And then I started thinking, okay, what else do they need to know? Well, what else needs to get done around here that I don't want to do by myself anymore? So it was like prepping fruits and veggies every week. You know, the groceries, once we get them in the house, it's all of the washing and the prepping and the chopping and the all of the meal prep stuff. And then it's changing sheets. My gosh, Cassie, I have short arms. I hate changing sheets so much. And we've got lots of beds in this house. So, all right, we're learning how to change sheets. So it just kind of became anything that I thought they needed to learn how to do, they learned how to do it. And now they do it on their own, which is great. And it's just been such a good experience. Do they love it? No. They don't
Of
love
course.
it. Like, what 13-year-old kid gets excited about doing laundry or chopping up vegetables? But it has been such a help. And, you and I have talked about this a little bit where, I've talked to friends of mine and they're like, how is your house always so tidy? Like every time we come here, it's so tidy. And I was like, well, I don't know. We keep up with it. And in deeper conversation, found out that they never had to do chores as kids.
Mm.
And so they didn't know how to keep a house. They didn't know how to make all of that happen. And I was like, really? Like, do your kids do chores? And they're like, no. Whoa. Like, first of all, we can't own it all as women, right? We wear enough hats as it is.
Mhm.
We have to spread that throughout the house. And so, Life Skills Camp was a way to teach them these things where they now can do pretty much anything that needs to be done in the house. And it's now a team effort. It's not all just on me.
I love that. And when you say team effort, I actually say that to my kids. I'm like, we're a team, like we're a
Yes.
team unit as a family. We all need to help one another. And I think sometimes as moms with just carrying all the load, we get maybe it's just me, but we get really impatient and we're just like, okay, let me just do it. But it's like, you have to take that moment, slow down and realize they've never done this before, though you
Yes.
think it should be so simple. And you might have to tell them like 10 times. I know there's that old book, Stephen Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective
Yep.
People. He even talks about like helping his child do like picking up the lawn, like doing the most simple task ever. And he's like, do you need help this week? And every time was like, yes, until finally they didn't. And I think for us, it's really hard, especially as like entrepreneur high achieving women where we're like, get it done. We're trying to be efficient. And I know with meal prep, because obviously I do a lot of meal prep in my home. For me, I always was thinking, okay, it's just, I'm so more efficient if I do it myself. And then about like the last year, and obviously my kids are 6, 5, and 3. So, a couple years ago, they really couldn't do much. But, about a year or so ago, I was like, you know what? I had the same thought. I need to be teaching these kids because cooking is truly a life skill and it's a basic thing to nourish their bodies and to take care of themselves. So I love that you do it. Yeah, just wondering if you have a story or like maybe a moment from meal prep that really stood out to you or maybe one that reminded you why you do what you do.
Yeah, definitely. So there was one that just happened this week, just a few days ago. It was a day when I had expected to get done work early. Turned out I was working a little later than I normally do. And so I was behind on dinner. Like the plan was to make seafood chowder, which that's one of the meals that most everybody in the family likes sometimes, if that makes sense. You know how it goes with kids.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I didn't like, and this was a week where I just didn't have everything chopped up on Sunday like I normally do. It just didn't happen. And so I was like thinking in my head, oh my gosh, this is a meal that takes a lot of steps. I have nothing prepped yet. So Sean was upstairs folding and putting away his laundry, my 10-year-old, so he was busy. And I had said to Andrew, my 13-year-old, I said, I need 20 minutes of your time. I need you to please help me chop up some vegetables to help make the chowder. And he reluctantly came into the kitchen with me and helped me. He was typical 13-year-old, not excited about it, kind of grumpy about it. And did he chop the vegetables a little too big? Yes. Was it okay? Yes. It was, didn't make a huge difference. But Cassie, we got to really connect and talk. And so as we're chopping vegetables and preparing the chowder, I had just started asking him, all right, what did you learn about today? What did you learn in social studies? And he's like, well, I learned about the Statue of Liberty and why you can't go up to the torch anymore. And I said, oh, well, why is that? And he said, well, before World War One, the Germans did some sort of sabotage and some explosion happened and it ruined that. And I was like, what? I've never heard of this. And so we're in the kitchen chopping, and I asked Google about it, and it showed, well, in 1916, the German sabotaged something in Jersey City. It caused this big explosion. And so we're learning together, we're talking together, and I was like, wow, bud, you taught me something I didn't know about history. This was cool. Like, we were just connecting. And even though he really didn't want to be in there, we were talking and we just got to chat. And then we all had family dinner together. Did either one of them eat more than 2 bites of the soup? No, they didn't. You know what? It was okay though. You know, we had some time
Absolutely.
making it together. We had made them back up PB&Js to go along with the soup just in case. And it is what it is. But it was just nice getting that time, especially as they become teenagers. They don't want to spend as much time with us. So that was just a blessing just to get to connect with him in the kitchen for 20 minutes.
Absolutely. And you had mentioned eating together, like sitting down to eat
Yes.
together. So, you and I have talked about this. There's so much research behind mental health and family dinners
Yes.
and how important it is to like sit down together for a meal. But I also feel like, I don't know how many studies have been done on meal prepping together, probably not a lot, but I would imagine it would have similar things. You are emotionally connecting with your child. You are sharing about one another's day. You're learning more about them. You're teaching them a life skill, like all of these wonderful things I think that can happen during meal prep. And then you're raising a capable citizen,
Yeah.
who is learning how to do these things so that they can take care of their body. Now, will it happen always, especially with like teenage boys? Like, are they going to do all those things for themselves? We don't know. We can only pray, right?
Right.
But I love that you're setting that foundation and really prioritizing health for them. And that brings me to my next question. And you've shared before about your health journey and the importance of prioritizing health. So I would love to hear, what does that look like for you right now?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you asked. It's been such a journey. So my weight has always been up and down. After I had Andrew in 2012, I had lost 87 pounds in 1 year, which was great. And I had taught Zumba for years and was great about keeping it off. And then we know what happens when stress starts to kick in and you start having more children and running a business. It kind of I started packing on the pounds again, and I had not done a great job prioritizing it. And so in the spring, I had a physical with my doctor, and I said, "Look, here's the thing. Here's what I've been doing. It's not really making a huge difference." And she said, "Melissa, you need to make some drastic changes, and you really need to shock your body. Like you need to start making some moves." So, a couple months after that, because, why do it right away? A couple months after that, I saw a post at my local gym about a fitness challenge that they were doing. I also saw that they had 5 a.m. workouts, which, you know me, Cassie, I'm an early bird. I'm up, I've got my whole routine in the morning. So I saw this and I'm like, oh, 5 a.m. These are my people. Okay. Cassie, think about the hardest workouts you've ever done, and that is what happens at this gym. And we work out 6 days a week. So Monday through Friday, I do the 5 a.m. workouts there. Saturdays, I do the 8:30 a.m. workouts, and sleep in a little bit. And at the end of this challenge, I actually won for best transformation, which was really great. And then at the same time, we were also working on my nutrition, what I was putting into my body, focusing on leafy greens, getting that meal prep done every week and building routines around that. And it's really great because for the most part, I'd say 90% of the time, I stick to the getting the meals planned on Sunday, getting everything prepped on Sunday. That way I'm ready to go. Those weeks that it doesn't, we pick it up and we work it out however we need to. But I'm still sticking to those daily 5 a.m. workouts and working out on the weekends, giving myself Sunday as a rest day. And it's just helped me with more energy. I feel better. I feel more like myself. Like, am I at my ideal weight yet? Not yet, but I know that it's about so much more than just what the scale says. I know I'm getting stronger. I share with you every time I do the results at the gym where I get to see how much muscle mass I've gained. And,
Mhm.
the Melissa 12 years ago would have been like, ew, I gained muscle. Ew, I don't want to gain anything. But I get excited every time I gain a pound of muscle because I know that as I age, that's going to help me. And building that skeletal muscle tissue is so important.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that journey. It's so hard for a lot of moms to think about exercising and fitting it in daily or fitting it in even a few times a week because we are constantly juggling all the things. And a lot of times our kids' schedules come first. And I think how we have to reframe that a little bit is showing up more for ourselves so that we can then show up better for our families, for our communities, and we can better serve others in that way when we are taking care of ourselves. Again, that cliche, put your mask on, but first before
Yes.
you put on anybody else. But I think everything you're doing is just amazing. And, you had mentioned a little bit about the weight. And I love the fact that you are focusing on getting your body strong, having more energy, because as moms, I know our society for the past, 30, 40 years has been all about body image and a number on the scale. But as moms, for me at least, I care way more about being strong, being able to lift my kids without hurting my back or being able to chase after them or just having that energy when they get home from school is huge. And I found that I don't love working out. It comes very hard to me, but I do it because I know it's going to strengthen my body. And the biggest thing for me is really giving me that energy, right? Like it does, like there's so much science behind it about giving you more energy. And then, of course, like increasing your muscle mass, which then helps metabolism. So, yeah, thank you for sharing your health journey. And I guess, you know, with balancing all of the things like managing work, your family, and your purpose-driven projects, and thinking about how a lot of other women are, like we said, juggling a lot of things, do you have any specific daily or weekly routines that help you stay grounded and energized? Maybe besides exercise, we talked about that, but anything else in your routine that you would love to share?
Oh my gosh. Yes, absolutely. So I am a routine person. So I've got ADD and I struggle to focus, and routine is just that I crave and need that structure. So I am someone who I wake up to my alarm every day. Sometimes I wake up before it. You don't want to know what time I get up, but I get up super early. And okay, I'll tell you. And please don't think you have to get up at this time. This is just what works for me. But I get up at 3:15 every
Ooh.
morning only because the gym is 5 a.m. Otherwise, I would not be getting up that early. But it's so important to me that I give the first part of my day to God. That is a commitment that I have made to him. We are called to give our first fruits to the Lord, and part of that is our day. And so I spend that first hour of my day with the Lord. It's right here in this office. I'm sitting on my prayer chair right now. And this is when I have my coffee. I journal, and that's all my gratitude journaling. I use the YouVersion Bible app to pray through scripture, and I read daily devotionals. This is when I pray, and I just have that hour with the Lord, and it's just the most important part of my day. If I don't get that time with God in first, my whole day feels wrecked. It's rough. Now I did not build that routine overnight. That started with 5 minutes at a time and then built up from there. So anybody who's looking to build a daily faith practice, start with 5 minutes. And I highly recommend start with the Bible app. because that is a great free resource and it's a great way to, it's got guided prayer, guided scripture, and so many just great devotionals on there too. So anyway, so that's the first thing that I do that helps to keep me grounded. Then I go to the gym, and then I make sure I'm home and showered before the kids get up. And that just helps me take care of myself first. That's how I put my oxygen mask on first. And then I've got some nightly routines. And that includes every single night, and some people make fun of me for this, Cassie, and I don't care because this is important to me. I take a hot bath with Epsom salts because that is what relaxes me and helps me get ready for bed. And then I go to bed crazy early because I love to go to bed. And thankfully, my husband, he's a little bit of a night owl, so he handles putting the kids to bed at night. But those two routines anchor me, and they really help me to stay grounded, and I can't emphasize enough how much getting enough sleep helps me then the next day when it comes to achieving the goals I want to achieve and get everything done.
Oh my goodness, sleep is so important, and it's also sometimes feels really elusive to moms and
Yes.
dads, and I think there's some seasons of our life where we can do as much as we can to prioritize it,
Yep.
and it's we're still not gonna get as much as we need, but I think being really intentional about how you're setting up your week,
Mhm.
and, you and I have talked about this. I am a huge believer in doing a time audit to see how you're currently spending your time, because I think so many of us are like, "Okay, I don't have any time to do this," or "What do you mean meal prep? I don't have time on a Sunday," or I think a lot of people just already cancel out any sort of intention, and I think we have to do a time audit, take a look at our current calendar, see what we're doing, then reflect on what we want to be doing, what our values are, and then creating an ideal week. And I know that even when, at least for me recently, even when we create this like wonderful ideal week, it's not meant to be followed perfectly
Right.
because life happens. But I think for the high achieving women, when we set an ideal week and then like a kid gets sick or we have to stay home or something popped up, an event popped up, I think it's really hard to like give yourself some grace and realize that this is meant to be a routine, not to be followed perfectly, but rather to strive towards. And so when we talk about routines, I love the fact that you're talking about like this isn't, perfect, but there's the a few things that really ground you. And I think it's going to be different for everybody, right? Like, I think this gives people the opportunity to think about what maybe morning routine or evening routine would really ground them. And does it have to be, every single thing in health and exercise and journaling? And, does it have to be all the things? No. I
Right.
love your advice. Start with like the YouVersion app. And you said 5 minutes. I even think there's a 2 minute thing. Like you
Oh,
do the
yeah,
guided thing. It's like,
absolutely.
start with 2 minutes
Yes.
and then take it from there, 5 minutes. And I actually, talk about that with meal prep too. It's like, wash your fruits and veggies. It'll take you probably 3 minutes and then move up. Like, this all or nothing mentality for a lot of women has really gotten us into a lot of trouble and overwhelm and
Absolutely.
stress. So I love the fact of small, healthy habits, and then you make it consistent. Again, we could talk about motivation and how a lot of women feel like they're not motivated, where it's really more of a consistency issue, right? Like just show up every day for a couple minutes for yourself. And so I love that you do that and you ground yourself in some really important habits and routines. So I know a lot of people struggle to build healthy habits that last. So, in that theme of consistency, what do you think has worked for you in creating that consistency without burning up? Like, how are you really showing up for yourself every day to exercise at 5 a.m.? What is the main driver there? And it might be hard to identify, but I'm just curious if you can like reflect on that a little bit more.
That's a great question. Well, first, when it comes to building those habits that last, it really is what we were talking about with those small, tiny habits first. So, we both love the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's really like one of the things that helped is okay, what's going to help set me up for success? Like, what's going to reduce the amount of friction so that way it is easier for me to get to the gym at 5 a.m. So, typically in the past, I was the kind of person who woke up at 4:15 a.m. to get up and do all of my journaling and all of that. So then it was building up to, and I would just like do yoga here at home for like 15 minutes and call that my workout for the day, right? But then when it came
That's still okay, right?
absolutely, absolutely. But again, I was challenged by my doctor to do something drastic, which is why I made that choice. And what is keeping me going there? What is helping make that happen? Well, first I set up some habits for myself to make that easier. So I have at first I was just like using my bog bag and throwing my sneakers in, throwing a water bottle in and like my gym towel and then running out the door. Well, the problem with that was sometimes I would forget my towel and then I didn't have everything I needed, or the bog bag, as much as I love it, it tips over in the car and everything falls out. So, a friend of mine at the gym was using a backpack and she's like, oh, I just wash all of my workout towels and I just put them right back in my bag. What a great idea. That saves me a little bit of time, makes my life a little bit easier. So now my towels live in there, my workout gloves live in there. This might sound gross, but I use the same water bottle all week. It's only for the gym, and that lives in my backpack. I fill it up either the night before or before I leave in the morning, so that's ready to go. So that saves me maybe 5 minutes in the morning. I also lay out my workout clothes the night before, including socks, shorts, whatever I'm going to be wearing. So that way, in the morning, when I'm trying to leave, I'm not opening up drawers trying to figure out what I'm going to wear. It's setting yourself up with those tiny little atomic habits that are going to add up to achieve those big results. And then I think the other thing that really keeps me going is that community. And I can't emphasize this enough. Like the community at the gym has been so great for me, but then also connecting with other people on like, oh yeah, I work out in the morning too, even if they're not at the same place as me. Like it just really helps. So those were big. And then I know we had talked about a calendar audit, and really that weekly planning is that weekly habit I've got that helps me. So I take my Google Calendar and take everything from that. I put it into my Anchored of Purpose calendar or my planner that I've got. It allows me, I have a spot where I put my focus for the week, which helps again my ADD brain to just really focus on that. It gives me a place to jot down my notes, my brain dump, my tasks, weekly wins, prayer requests, all of that. And that helps keep me focused, helps to keep me focused too, and helps those daily habits just become something that are just scheduled in. Like my workouts are scheduled into my calendar, my time with God scheduled into my calendar. So then I won't miss it. Like I wouldn't just, I'm not going to cancel on God. I'm not going to cancel on the gym. Plus, I mean, I spend too much money at the gym to not show up, you know?
Mhm. I love that, and I've used your planner as well, and I do love the layout of it, and again, huge believer in scheduling your priorities in. And honestly, even if you get in the habit of scheduling your priorities in, if you are not, let's say you miss a workout, right? It's scheduled in, but you're like, I'm super tired, whatever. It is at least scheduled in. It's front of mind. It is on your, calendar every single week or every day. And I think just having that in the forefront just reminds you daily. Having an alarm set to read the Bible or having an alarm set for something else, meal prep, that even if you're not doing it, it is like setting the stage, very foundational to think about what you should be thinking about at least, right? So, yeah, thank you for sharing your habits. I think building habits around what we're already doing, the habits that we're already doing, like Atomic Habits suggests, like, when you are making your coffee, can you also drink, 16 ounces of water at the same time? Or while you're waiting for something, like for me, I always say, like, if you're waiting for like toast to toast up, like you have a good 2, 3 minutes, you could literally chop up the veggies that you need for your salad. Like, there's so many little things in pockets of time that you could start these really easy, healthy habits and then build from there. So again, start small and build. And so, the last question I have for you is, we've talked so much about what can we put into our calendars and what can we prioritize and all these important things. And I think for a lot of women, we're trying really hard to do all those things. But how do you personally know when it's time to slow down or reset?
That is such a good question. I still struggle with this, to be perfectly honest with you. I still struggle. So when it comes to honestly by nighttime, I'm exhausted and the idea of like staying up to do anything, it like I just can't. Um but when it comes to, like, looking at the calendar and sometimes I'll be honest, so we've got this big wall calendar that shows the entire year, and when I see there's a lot of stuff coming up, I start to get like, "Ooh, oh my gosh, there's a lot going on." So I try to be intentional about the time surrounding that. So, for example, this weekend, we have 2 events on Saturday, and then I leave Sunday for a trip. I don't get back until Tuesday. That Friday, my family comes into town and they're staying until Sunday. And then Thursday is Thanksgiving at the time, at the time of our recording now. And I'm hosting for 20 people. So I'm looking at that and I'm like, whoa, this is a lot. This is a lot. So I'm intentional. So the weekend we just had, we had nothing on the schedule and I kept it that way. I refused to schedule anything else. I very intentionally, we had some downtime when it's football season right now. So I try and Saturdays, like mark out the time for whenever my team's doing terrible this year, but whenever Penn State's playing on a Saturday, we try and schedule that time just to be on the couch snuggled up with the dogs, watching the game as a family. Sunday this week, we just also again scheduled some intentional time just to rest because I know what happens if I don't schedule that time to rest, I get sick. And then my body tells me, "Hey, it's time to slow down." So then the same thing for after Thanksgiving. I know this is going to come out after that, but I will be scheduling so we're hosting everybody Thursday, 20 people, and Friday will be Christmas decorating. Saturday, Sunday will be nothing. Like, we will not be doing anything. We will just stay home and lay low. So I have to be proactive like that, or I know what will happen. I will burn myself out. I'll get sick, and then I'll feel like I'm even more behind going into the holidays. So I have to just be very protective of that time.
Yeah, and I think I am very similar in the fact that when I am going and going and not getting enough sleep and pushing, my body is like, it's definitely the one to tell me because your body keeps the score. It's like,
Yep.
it's definitely the one to tell you, you get sick or something will happen and, you just feel like crap. And so instead of waiting for my body to tell me that, because then it's like your week is gone, like you're
Yes.
exhausted, you're tired, you're sick, like you can hardly do anything. Instead of that, I also journal and I keep track of my sleep. And then just so that I'm aware of what's, draining me, how much sleep am I getting, just so I can be like, okay, like we really need to get a little more sleep tonight, even though I know I'm supposed to get more sleep. But, when you can actually see it written down and you start noticing those patterns in your habits, I think that's crucial to setting yourself up for success. Sometimes you have to say no to things, right? We
Yes.
know that. We're supposed to say no and set those boundaries. We want to do everything, but when you're intentional and you look ahead at the calendar and realize exactly what you said, when you are going to be really busy, to give yourself a little bit of that white space
Yes.
to recover and rest and even prep for what's to come. So, yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think that was super useful, and we can definitely use a few of those tidbits in our own lives. So, Melissa, what is next for you? Like, do you have any new programs, projects, anything that you're excited about that you want to share?
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Well, my Anchored with Purpose planner is coming out. So I have the free version available right now. The link will be in the show notes. You can grab it and print it out for the rest of 2025. 2026 is coming out in December, so be on the lookout. And if it is out by the time this comes out, I'll have that link for you as well. But I'm so excited about this, Cassie, because I've been working on this planner for a year and a half now. We're really just dialing in, fine tuning it. Like before I even let anybody else see it, I used it myself. And then the feedback that I've been getting from everyone who's been using the free version has just been so great. Hearing like, oh, this is really working well. Oh, I love this part. But I love that it helps you to be grounded and anchored throughout the entire week. So I am excited that that is getting in the hands of people for 2026 so that way they can be intentional and purposeful about their whole new year.
I love that. And like I said, I have used the planner and just I wanted to say one thing because you have a memory verse in there. And it's so funny because like I was raised Christian and we always had memory work and my kids go to a Christian school and they have a couple memory verses actually that they have to do every week. And so what I'll end up doing is writing down Brooks's memory verse, like so that it helps me remember so that in the
Yeah.
car I can go over that with him and use that time wisely and not be staring at a piece of paper. So I love the fact that you have that little memory verse in there and yeah. So it's
Oh,
a great planner. I love it.
thank
Melissa,
you.
how can people connect with you, learn more about your work? Give us all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. So my website is anchoredwithpurpose.com. You can find me. I hang out on Instagram a lot. You can find my personal page, Melissa J. Wilkinson, or my Anchored with Purpose page. Those will both be in the show notes for you. But come by, say hi, drop into the DMs, and let's talk all things faith, family, purpose, and big dreams.
I love it. Thank you so much, Melissa. It's been wonderful having you on the podcast. And actually, you're my first guest. So I'm honestly honored to have you as my first guest on my podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me. This has just been such a blessing and an honor to get to work with you. So thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in to today's episode of the Wellness That Fits podcast. I hope you walk away with simple, doable steps you can put into practice right away. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world if you subscribed, left a review, or shared it with another busy mom who could use some encouragement. Until next time, friends, keep creating wellness that fits your life.